So we're live right now. Nice. We'll see if people start showing up. Let's see. I got the thing set up for comments. So it's hard to tell until you see a comment come on the board. So I'll put down. Not a very good typer.
Me neither.
Okay, so look at, there it is. So there's a couple people there. Yep. Dr. Romex, I know him. We've talked before. Roger Richardson, good to see you.
Mount Vernon, Ohio. I know where that's at.
Well, says 18 people are watching. So with that, you know, I guess we can start rocking and rolling. But
okay.
A lot's happened. What's that, Rusty?
I said, okay.
A lot's happened since the last time we've talked. I mean, people are really into it. They love hearing us sit back and bench race and just talk about how things are and experiences. So I kind of tell you where we're at. We're doing this live, and then I actually have another live show to do with Uncle Tony's Garage, which is really pretty cool. He does a lot of Mopar stuff. Has a knowledge on all cars, mostly Mopar. Good to hear him. To hear him talk is interesting. He's got a way. He's kind of a gruff type guy, and I always enjoy his videos. So I'm going to do a live broadcast with him. And then Andy, who may tone up on here from Unity Motorsports Garage, him and I are going to do a live show. And it's going to be awesome. I also hooked up with David Cook Carbs. He's going to do the Dominators that are back here. Those are going out in the mail this week for the Pro Stock build. So it looks like we got quite a bit of people here. So we can give some shout outs later. Why don't we see what we got for questions?
So far, it's just telling everybody saying hi.
Yep, there's Greg.
Greg, yep, Cat's Garage, Daniel, Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a lot. We already actually, tell you the truth, that's why we're here at 7, whatever it is, 25, because we did another test on it, another test video, I would say, before we did this live, because I don't want to go through what we did last week.
What's that?
We are suffering from drag strip shutdown here. Yeah, I heard about this.
Where's that at?
It's in Mount Vernon, Ohio.
Oh.
It's an 1/8 mile strip, so it's been there since 1956. I've raced there a few times. It's a pretty cool strip. Kind of gets narrow as the lanes end. It almost looks like you're going the other guy's lane when you get to the end. Kind of a little hairy there.
Nothing like a challenge.
Man, I'll say. Hi, Mike, Curtis. Good to see you.
What's up, Greg?
So I'll give you some more updates while we're kind of waiting for things to show up. Now, next week, I may be taking a road trip to Indiana to Tony Bischoff's BES Racing. So I may take a bunch of parts there. And Greg Quozo, he's the guy that had the burrs, the killer carbide burrs. I used them on one of my videos. He made some custom ones for Darren Morgan, which are really nice for a gift. So might take a road trip down there, make a video while I'm rolling down there, drop off a bunch of parts instead of having them shipped and the risk of losing them.
And then there's Bobby Yankee. No, not really. Billy had it was a 4-cylinder. It was a they called it a Black Hawk Mustang. And it was just a 4-cylinder. I drove a inline 6 Granada automatic, or at times I drove, for a few years, I drove if anybody remembers, the old Courier pickup truck.
Yeah.
That was painted like the 80 Fairmont. I drove that off for a while.
Who had the 80 Fairmont, the one that matched the clone? You know, the one that, was it Billy that drove that?
Yeah, yep. And his ex-wife wrecked it.
Oh, okay. Where did that car come from? Ford or who?
Ford. Yep.
Ford made it.
Yes. Yes, that and the Courier pickup truck.
Okay. Nice. Here's one easy question. Yeah, build it.
Well, yeah, if it's a Cleveland, yeah.
Doesn't matter. People always worry about what year it is. They say the older ones are thicker. They probably are, but you work with what you got. Just start checking it out and build it, man. I don't care what date it is. You know, make sure it's not a piece of junk, but start ripping on it, man.
Pressure check the block. If the block's good, you're good to go.
You're welcome.
Any word on which track will get the Houston date? I have not heard that. I have not heard hide nor hair of that yet. I'm going to guess they're probably going to do, like, Atlanta is probably going to be covered up by SGMP, South Georgia Motorsports Park. That wouldn't surprise me. The Houston, I don't know what, unless they do something at San Antonio, but that's not really an NHRA track, I don't think. But as far as Houston, unless they do 2 Dallas races like they do Vegas and Charlotte. But that's when they get back to running full seasons again, which supposedly that's supposed to, 2022, they said like the Winter Nationals is going to be back at Pomona. So maybe next year, maybe by the end of the race season this year, by PRI show, they'll be able to give you a full, if they do have the PRI show, they'll be able to give a full schedule for next year. But I know they did make an announcement sometime this week that Pomona is back at its normal first race of the year, back in the weekend after Super Bowl. So,
hey, I just want to give a shout out to my wife, Andrea. I love you guys, and Izzy and Elena. If you're watching.
Hello. Everybody doing okay?
Yeah, they're doing good. They're not here. They're inside, but they may be watching, so that's why I want to give them a shout out. Here's a good question. I know this. You can read it. What do you think?
Oh boy, that's going back too far for me. Some of this stuff goes back a little far for me. You guys got to remember, when they started the 82, I was 14 when they started the 500-inch stuff. And so a lot of that small block stuff, I really don't remember a whole lot about it. I just remember the only thing is every time he found more horsepower or got the car working better, he got penalized for it. It's no different than like the factory stock stuff now. The Fords are by far head and shoulders above. I mean, they already lost the Skillman group. They lost they lost another Ford group. I can't remember. Matter of fact, I think he was doing all the Ford motors for a lot of the Ford teams, even Skillman. So they're penalizing the Fords because Ford's got their game plan together when it comes to that small block stuff, especially the factory stock class.
Here's what I think. Here's what I'll kind of throw in my 2 cents for it, Greg. Basically what you're doing is this, as far as from a street car guy, because the bottom line is your car's probably running too rich and idle. So they used to drill out the throttle plates to like, I don't know, eighth inch drill bit or whatever it was in the back of the secondaries. That allows it to get more air, so it leans it out a little bit and it helps it with the velocity a little bit. But really, the best thing to do is, if you can, you could do that, but also you could sometimes turn the secondary butterflies, open them up a little bit. In the back, there's a little set screw that you can turn. Sometimes if you just crack that, you only want like a 30 seconds in there. That'll help it idle a little bit better, because it sounds like it's rough idling, and that's what'll happen. So that's why you drill the throttle bores in the back. Is that what you're looking at?
I was actually the next one, but no, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't know about that, because I know Dad's the reason Roush got out of drag racing and went to circle track stuff. So I don't know what Roush did with his stuff back then. Here again, it's the small block stuff. I just know that Dad caused a few people to leave Pro Stock because he just had a handle on everything.
Oh, this is what you're looking at here.
Yeah, out of the big old LTDs, yep. Cat's Garage, yes. Yes, Dad and Billy pretty much did all the cylinder head work when they come to final port and polishing them, flowing them, valve work. Billy pretty much did, like we did a lot of stuff with our blocks, even the aluminum blocks. We ground the bottom sides. Oh God, we lightened them up. Even our cast iron blocks, when we did have the 95 and 96 have the wedge stuff that we used, Billy would grind the dog snot out of those. Mine was pretty much the car, getting it cleaned up. If we were going from NHRA to IHRA back in the 80s, switching everything over. But then when we quit the IHRA stuff, it was just checking all welds. One thing we did do that a lot of people probably, I don't think they do even today still, is we learned in the wind tunnel, we sealed up the inside of our car. So the actual doors on our Pro Stock car shut almost like regular car doors. In other words, you shut them and the windows kind of push out, because there's like a pressure buildup from just shutting the door. So that was my job, to check all that stuff. Transmission, rear end stuff, truck and trailer. If we didn't have a truck driver, pretty much we did, but his deal was to make sure the truck was serviced when it needed to be serviced. And then mine was to make sure everything in the trailer was to be restocked, whether it be parts to fuel to oil to anything. So yeah, pretty much everybody did have their own specific duties.
How about this one?
Yes, I do. That was, oh boy. I mean, we were fast with the NHRA stuff, but we were head and shoulders above everybody with the IHRA stuff. And that Milan was always an IHRA race. And, oh boy, they wanted us, there was a petition signed. Here again, I'm not going to throw any names in the hat, but there was a petition signed, and they were actually going to try and make us take our engine apart in front of all of our competitors. And that just wasn't going to be done. I mean, that's, there was other engine builders there. There was, Sonny, Kazi, all those guys were there. Dad wasn't going to do that. That actually that was actually a Motorcraft sponsored race, and we were sponsored by Motorcraft then. And they said that we would not get to run anymore, so it was pretty cut and dry for Dad. We just loaded our stuff up and left. As a matter of fact, one of the head honchos at Ford Motor Company was actually, as we were heading in the rig to the front gate, was on the driver's side, hanging on to the mirror and the exhaust stack handle that you used to climb up on the stairs to get up in the tractor. Telling Dad, you can't leave. It's a Motorcraft race. And Dad said, if you don't want to ride on the side of this truck all the way to Whiteland, Indiana, you better get off. Because I mean, they really didn't know. They really didn't know what was going on, and they came later into that whole deal. They showed up later after everything had already taken place, and we were pretty much. I mean, we were loaded except for rolling the awning up and throwing it in the side door. And so then Dad explained that. And then also, I think Billy Meyer had a big to do with IHRA at the time, and there was discussions with Billy Meyer, and it was pretty much by IHRA just swept under the table. Wow. Like it never happened. I mean, there's been several incidences, probably 3 or 4 really good incidents that happened through NHRA and IHRA that was not right. So it's their ball field, so you got to play by their rules. And if you don't like it, you can either shut your mouth and continue to race, or load up and go home. And with the IHRA stuff, we just weren't. Dad just wasn't gonna. I mean, because it was kind of opening up to some of our 500-inch stuff too. So he just wasn't. No different than the crash. First thing he did when he got out of the car for the crash was cover the manifold up, because that's, manifold and cylinder heads where your horsepower's made. And it ripped the friggin' top of the manifold right off, and you could look right down the runners and see what our intake runners and intake ports look like. And that was just not something he was willing to let everybody see.
What's crazy is I'm making this video I told you about earlier, and I have a picture from the 72 Pinto where he has the intake covered with some tape so you can't see the work that's done on it. And that was in 1972. So it's not like it was something new. He's been doing it. He did it for a long time.
Oh, I do want to say hi to, I think it's Albie Papa from Australia. Hi. But hey, I will tell you this much. We have caught people under our trailer doing an engine change with cameras, trying to get video or pictures of our exhaust ports on our Hemis back in the day.
Really?
And you would not believe who one of them was. Like I said, I'm not going to throw any names out.
Right.
You would not believe who one of them was.
I mean, how do you catch them?
When, we're sitting there taking the headers off, and you go and lay the stuff down, and you see one of those 6 or 8 inch telezoom lenses that can get like they're right there at the port.
Yeah.
Sticking out, that far out from under the trailer, and then you stop what you're doing, and then Dad takes a water hose and squirts them. So I think Mom even chased one of them off with a broom, poking them with a broom, and not just light pokes either. So I mean, there's been so much funky stuff go on. I mean, people just hated the fact that Dad worked so hard. I mean, the whole family really worked so hard, mainly Dad. And then Billy did when he got out of school. Who are you waving at? Oh, Andy, hi. It just,
Love you guys.
Dad worked tirelessly around that shop. I mean, he'd tell us to go home, and he'd stay there all night and work. And he'd live on coffee all night long.
Wow.
I mean, his coffee, we used to have, I'll never forget this. If you guys remember the Raymond Beetle, the Blue Max.
Yeah.
There was Dale Emery, Waterbed Fred, and oh gosh dang it, I can't remember the other one. But those guys used to come to our trailer every morning for their morning coffee because they liked our trailer, or they liked our coffee, but no one ever could figure out. And it was just one little bitty simple thing. Dad would have when you'd make coffee, you put the filter in, and you put the right amount of coffee grinds in, and then you take salt and you put salt in there, and then that's how you brew the coffee. And I mean, it did make it taste good.
We're trying it.
Those guys, oh yeah, he made sure nobody saw his little trick. You know, nobody learned it.
Now we know, Bob.
Yep.
Try it tomorrow. Thanks, Dr. Romex, for answering that question. I read your answer. You're right. That's good. Thank you for helping.
Yes, D. Gant, you're right. Oh, D. Gant, yep. Dr. Romex, yep. Yeah, that was D. Gant. Yeah, they were, Waterbed Fred. Matter of fact, if you guys remember, Waterbed Fred, he dated some movie actress for a few years. I think they even got married for a little while. Oh, Waterbed Fred, man, those guys were just those were some of the funniest guys. Hard workers, knew what they were doing, but oh my God, they were hilarious to hang around. Oh, we got a Napa guy. Yes, Stephen Dutton. Dad did not believe, back in those days, even with the 500-inch stuff, Dad did not believe in engine stands. Everything was done on the floor. We would put the short block together with the bottom end of it up on 4x4s. And then after we got the crank rods and pistons and cam in it, the front plate on it, the front engine plate, and the oil pan, and got all the oil lines from the oil on the oil pump hooked to the oil pan. First thing we do is set it down, and it took, I think it was the passenger side, one 4x4 under that corner, and you could sit there and turn the engine over. It wouldn't rock. It just, the way the pan was formed and the way everything else was, it was just perfect. Dad could sit on his little roller cart. It was a little, what was it? It was a little Craftsman tool cart. Had the four little wheels on it with a little shelf under the seat, and he'd have all these valve adjusting stuff, have cam timing stuff. Oh yeah, that's on the floor. That's how we did everything.
Kind of like that. I don't think you can see that, but.
Oh yeah, yep.
You wait.
That's actually, I think that one's on one of the roller carts that went.
It is.
In the trailer. Yeah, that's on one of the roller carts that it had to have when it went on the trailer. But no, yeah, it wasn't on one of those. It was actually on the ground. No, they didn't go on a roller cart until it came off the dyno, and if the numbers were good, if that's not the one he wanted to start with at the upcoming race, it went on a roller cart. The one that he wanted to start with at whatever the next race was, it sat on we moved it over out of because we had one spot where we pretty much did, all of our stuff, taking it apart and putting it back together. Well, mainly putting it back together because the bench was right there, and he could, grab a rod and piston, slap, oil on the rings, and then put it in the sleeve deal, and then shove it in the block. But that engine would always stay on the floor, and then when we were ready to put the car together to get it to where we could load it up and go to the race, that one would be put on the engine hoist and rolled back to the car, and it'd be put in. I don't know if he bought out all the stuff because they still have to have, per the rules back then, even nowadays, there has to be stock available for public.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Now, he got the first run of everything, though.
Used to be able to buy the AR block and heads in the motorsport catalog.
Yes.
In the Boss 429. Oh, you could buy all that stuff if you had.
By everything that we use, and I think even that's how it is today. Anything the pro stock guys use, anybody should be able to go in and buy that from manufacturers. So that's why everything, and it may have changed. They've changed rules so much I don't really follow it that much anymore. But I mean, it had to have a part number before you could use it. A Ford, well, our stuff, a Ford part number, or a GM or a Chrysler. And then it had to be available to the public before you could run it at a national event. Now you could put it together and dyno it, and you could go out and test it all you want, but you could not run it down a qualifying run at a national event without it being available to the public.
Good fact right there. Here, I can answer this. So I'll tell you about Cleveland solid roller lifters. If you're going to buy solid roller lifters for a Cleveland, buy good product. Buy something like, I've always used Crane Ultra Pro, or you can maybe BAM. Iski has good quality. Crower are good rocker arms, but you want one that has the oiling aspect, a little oiling, pressurized oiling to it. So those are great. But the bushings, I have a set, never used them, but we'll try them out and see how they are. But buy a quality lifter. Don't buy something cheap. They won't last out of Cleveland, probably any motor. Whoop.
And Cat's Garage has got a good one. Yes, I have on my cell phone, I have a whole bunch of old photos. And then I actually just got, Mom was cleaning out her attic the other day, and I just got, I don't know, 3 or 4 boxes of old pictures. I've got some of Dad's old certificates that NHRA would send to you after you set a record, ET or speed. I think the last one I saw that Dad set was 92 or 93. It was a speed record. And I got all that stuff. I've got some of his old car, I think a couple of his old Carcraft and Hot Rod magazine jackets. I got a couple of old shirts. I've even got a little kid size one of my shirts, which I haven't seen one of those in years. So, yeah, I do have a lot of that stuff. And Dr. Romex, you're right about the AR blocks.
I love those, man. I remember the motorsport catalog. I was like, man, I want these so bad. Look at this stuff. You know, but back then, I think a block was like, I don't know, $9,000 or $10,000 or something like that. Some crazy number, 8. Unfinished, I think, you know?
Unfinished, yep.
Yeah. Here's one for you.
My dad's first race car. Well, it depends on what you classify as a race car. Because he actually started street racing first. And that was with a late 60s Mustang. And he had a group of friends who he was still friends with up to the day he passed, that he used to hang with. And I remember hearing some stories like one time they went out and was street racing. And of course, Dad had people come from other states just come here to Johnson County to race him. And he would always win. But they went out one night after a big win and got a little sauced, and they ended up at the Shell gas station at the corner of 31 and Smith Valley is where it used to be. And Dad was passed out in the bathroom, so his buddies, and the bathroom door opened out. So his buddies took his car and parked it right up to the door and left his car running. So yeah, there was yeah, that's a good point. Good times. I didn't know there was a points meet this weekend, Greg. Huh. And Michael Thompson. My mom is doing good. She is a very incredible lady. Billy's doing well as well. Shannon, you know, is trying to keep him in line as best she can. But it's like my wife's with me. You know, my wife doesn't hardly have any luck with that. But anyway, now Mom's doing really well. She comes over once or twice a week. We have dinner with her. She comes over when the weather's right, hangs out in the pool. So yeah, she's doing really good. Thank you for asking. Cat's Garage. Yeah, well, you know what? I'd never thought about that, but yes, I would.
How about this one?
Oh God, no, I don't remember that. No, I don't remember that. The only thing I remember, Jenkins showed up one time to a match race, and it was supposed to be NHRA legal, and he had a 500-inch motor in. And if anybody remembers Barry Poole,
yeah,
he came up and gave Dad some, it was either propylene oxide or nitropropylene, I don't remember which. And Dad won two of the three rounds, won the match race, but that thing sounded like almost a 351 blower car, like an alcohol car. And then the third run, when he went into like second or third gear, it just melted melted 2 or 3 pistons, and it just shut off. But he'd already won the first two. But no, I don't remember the Atco thing. My God, that was, oh Lord, that was a long time ago. Wow.
This is cool.
Oh, due to the, and here again, it was mainly due to the pistons because of the way the pistons were shaped. The problem with the 500-inch Boss pistons is the pin bosses wanted to fall out. So we would only put about 25 to 30 dyno pulls on one and probably 20 to 25 runs on one before we had to start putting new pistons in it. Because the pin bosses, that was one of, if Billy had time to do it, he did it. If I had time to do it, I do it. Was when an engine was taken apart after it got close to that time, or really any time, it didn't matter. You take a magnifying glass and a flashlight, and you check the corners of the piston bosses, the pin bosses, and make sure that they're not cracking, because sometimes they would crack pretty quick. And then if it was a little early, we would just keep an eye on them. Other than that, I mean, even if we had to just take the pan off and just to look at them, we'd do that at racetracks. We've done that. If they didn't spread any farther, we wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, that's about all I can remember on that.
How about this? I don't know what this is.
Oh, the birdhouse. Yeah, that was that's the building Dad built for all. They had like 27 McCalls at one time. Billy owned that for a while when he bought the shop, and he actually leased it out to a church. A local church had burnt down, and he leased it to them till their new building was done, and then he leased it to some other place. And then somebody came along and bought it, and now it is a it's like they do lawn mowing and then snow removal. and him and Billy are good friends. So it's in good hands. Neil, no, I have. No, I don't. I used to have Harleys, but when my wife, had her brain tumor surgery, we traded those in to help pay the 20% that we had to pay on, because it was 80-20 on the insurance. And then, I'll get another one someday, but I messed around and got which I still have, and I'm trying to sell it. I have a 2003 XB9R Buell, and that thing is too stupid fast for me. I would end up hurting myself with it. But as far as street cars, now I drive a 2018 Ford EcoSport, all-wheel drive. Oh, Daniel knows Barry very well.
Now I'll tell you something. His brother was Gene Wilson. Gene Wilson built all the 427 FE stuff for Phil Bonner.
Okay.
He built all the camera stuff, all the FE stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep, Gene Wilson. Big time. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Greg's got a good one. No, not with the mountain motor stuff he didn't do. Mountain motor stuff was basically, we usually had a handle on a lot of those tracks, but there were a few like Rockingham, Darlington, that the only thing he really did at those races was we would, even Bristol, we would actually make several test runs in between qualifying runs, because back then you were allowed to do that. And so no, but he never did any match racing with the mountain motor stuff at all. Nice to see you guys here.
So that's Andy. He's one of the guys, Andy Wood. I'm going to be doing a live video chat with him sometime soon. He's building it's a mixed up Boss 429. It's a Windsor-based 429 cubic inch with hammerhead Hemi heads made for a Ford. I got to give a shout out to this guy, Clarence Roy. Thank you, Clarence.
Yes, thanks, Clarence. That one, I don't remember that. 77. Yeah, that was a little too early for me to remember. But thanks, Terry.
How about this one?
Oh yeah.
U.S. Nationals, 76.
Yep. That was an 8-day project, and he did that on a bet, and ended up first alternate by 1/1000th. And Steven Shepard. No, I do not remember anything about the Pinto hood scoop. Can you elaborate?
Well, I'll tell you this. In that video I have, you're going to see about 200 pictures of it from every angle, so you'll get a good picture of it. This is good here.
Yep.
R.I.P. Gene. Here's one.
For some reason, if I remember right, I don't think Dad liked the Cobra Jet. I didn't. I don't think that was for him. That's really all about all I can remember. That is the boss stuff. I don't know how he found it or where he found it at, but yeah, I mean, he had everything he needed, and it just, like I said, it took him 2.5 years before he started getting a handle on it and got to where he was going back towards like the small block days where he was badass again, basically.
Let me ask you a question, Rusty.
Yes.
So when you went, let's say 82, you're going to the big block stuff. Did like Ford like come up to your house with a tractor trailer of like a pallet of 429 blocks, heads, like a whole, I mean, they just unloaded like, $100,000 worth of parts, and there you go, and let's go racing. How did it work? How did you get your parts, or where do they come from?
To be truthfully honest, I think he just dealerships is where he got most of them.
Okay.
People or stuff laying around. And I think maybe he got some from junkyards. I don't know. I really I don't remember where he got all that stuff. I just know, like I said, once he got it, he was like a dog with a bone. He sunk his teeth in, and he did whatever it took to make him run. And I mean, he hours, days. I mean, he'd work 2-3 days straight on that stuff.
I guess what I'm trying to say is when he was with Motorcraft, when you guys are racing with Motorcraft, did they bring you truckloads of engines, parts that you just, here you go, build what you want? How did it work?
No, back with the Motorcraft stuff, I think that's around the time we started running with the, no, it wasn't even then. We got the actual sponsorship money. They may have paid for some blocks and cylinder heads, but I don't really remember that either, because I was the financial end was, I was never involved in that. But no, it was never a deal where they showed up with truckloads of parts. It was never like that. I mean, he always had what he needed, or what we needed to be competitive and have plenty on board. Because like I said, we always had 4 or 5 500-inch stuff, and had, I think, 3 complete mountain motors, and then we had 1 mountain motor short block sitting there. So if something happened to one of them, if it didn't hurt the cylinder heads too bad, we'd take the head off and bolt them on a short block. But no, there was never block, truckloads of stuff. The only time I ever seen that was when I started on that Schumacher deal in 04 on the off season. My first 2 weeks was going through the Matco catalog and ordering for the shop, because the shop was different from his one in Brownsburg. His Brownsburg one is on the west side, and the Pro Stock car shop was actually on the east side at 30th and Post. And I ordered everything, like 3 or 4 toolboxes for the shop, tools for engine room, dyno room, all the machines. Oh my gosh. 2 complete race rigs with everything you need, and then plenty of spares of everything. And I know they brought, it was the shorter semis, the 42 or 46 or whatever footers. And they brought 5 semi truckloads of stuff to the shop. And I know it was several hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he didn't pay a penny for it.
Wow.
Because, I mean, everyone that Schumacher sponsors, they were on every car he had. He had I think he had 3 funny cars.
6 at one time, 6 teams at once.
Okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
A couple dragsters. He had the 2 Pro Stock cars and he had the 2 Pro Stock bikes. And every sponsor was on every one of his race vehicles. So, you know, for them to give, you know, $500,000-$600,000 in tools but to be on every car of Schumacher's, that was quite a deal for them. I mean, anybody that was with like him and Force, sponsor wise, whatever they gave up, it was worth it. What do we got here? All right, Cleveland, did you have machine work in house? Yes. Yeah, all the machine work. The only thing that wasn't done in house until we got our own was with the 500-inch stuff, and that was line boring the cam journals to put roller bearings in, to go from just the main, just the old Cleveite bearing to a roller bearing. And then after about the second or third block that almost got completely destroyed by outwork, Dad spent the money to buy his own. It was a Bearco, a line bore machine. And we did, after that, everything was done in-house. Michael Thompson, that's a good question. There were a couple guys at Ford that helped out with different things. Yes, there were. There was Melvin Wallace. We called him Mel, but Melvin Wallace. Lee Hampkins. Oh boy. Sam, what was Sam's? I can't remember Sam's last name. Yeah, there's a lot of great people at Ford Motor Company. And yes, they were a good company to work with. It was really, that was just a sad time to see the I guess sponsorship or whatever we had with them disperse. That was a hard one to take. But yes, the Ford people were all really good people. I mean, like we got, I think it was 12, there was like really 16 or 18 hours of tunnel time because there was other things they had to do. But actual in the wind tunnel, we got 12 hours of wind tunnel time at whenever we wanted. And that stuff, even back then, was, I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars per hour to run that wind tunnel. And they paid for it all.
Hey, CW, thanks, man. Dave, Tommy, thank you. Down Under.
And Todd Frasco, I don't know if Dad ever ran the Widmer Boss Heads. I don't think so. To be truthfully honest, I don't remember.
I think he did all of his own head work. I don't think he ran anybody else. Even on the Schumacher deal, Dad did all the cylinder head work. I mean, that was just his deal. I mean, he had a knack for it. Oh boy, Cat. Oh God, I can probably throw some numbers out. The only thing is, we only ran the big motors once or twice on our dyno because the water pump, that the water shoots in, and then that's how it, the motor's turning it one way and water shoots in the other way, and the pressure it puts down, and that's how it gets its horsepower and torque. It would eat the rotors out of that. So we didn't run our mountain motor stuff but a few times. I mean, we'd start them up and, maybe he'd run them, at say 2,000 to 3,000 RPM with a load of water under it just to break in like rings. If we had to put rings in it, like if the cylinder started leaking and
passed the reins pretty good, and he had to hone it and ring it, which that was only a couple times. But the power, oh boy.
1,200 at least for a big block, 500 cubic inch, 11, 12.
They were, I think when our 500-inch stuff was around 950 to 970. I think our mountain motor stuff, I think the one time we ran it was just over 12 or right around 12. But here again, Kat, that was only a 632 where we were running against 740 to 750 because Max was 750 and Dad only went, I think, 632. He did change the bore and stroke on one and made it a 672, and that thing almost wouldn't fight its way out of a wet paper bag. So that was our backup. It would run better than a lot of the other teams out there, but it wouldn't run as good as our 632. So that one really ever got ran, unless for some reason he wanted to go test a new clutch setup or transmission stuff or something like that. We'd throw that one in so we wouldn't hurt, for the mountain motor stuff. We'd put that one in, I think, once or twice just to test with, but other than that, no. And then Albie, Tim, you could probably answer that one.
So here's what I can tell you about the Cleveland two-barrel heads. The Aussies had a wicked two-barrel head that had the same combustion chamber as the Cleveland four-barrel head, that quench-type chamber. Now, I know there's a guy that has those heads that are flowing wicked, and he's running probably I want to say he's running like 970s with him. The best flowing 2V head is an open chamber head from 1973. Those heads flow better than the Cleveland four-barrel head, I think, or right up there, I should say. Not as good, but they're up there. They're one of the best flowing heads right there, I think. So they're all good. You got to really look at the combination. What do you want to do with that engine? And how much compression you want to run. Because those two heads are going to be drastic difference in compression for whatever you're going to run. You're going to have a flat top, with like 60 cc chamber, or you're going to have a pop-up for the open chamber. But you got to have all that stuff down first. Thanks.
Ricky Miles has got a good one. How many cubic inches were the Clevelands? You were allowed 358, but Dad never went even close to that, because the closer you were to that, the more weight you ran. And when you already had weight breaks, the less cubic inches you ran, which really didn't matter. He could have been 300 cubic inches or 358 cubic inches, and they would have put weight on him anyway. It didn't matter. But I think most of his stuff was in the upper 320s, low 330s.
I can tell you, in 1980, one of his favorite motors was a 327 cubic inch Cleveland. He had built a 343 Cleveland with furnace brazed cylinders. It was like 80 or 125 over. He built that motor. It sat in his trailer for 3 months. He went to Seattle, I think it was, threw that 343 in there, man, and sweeped up. So 343 was one of his best ones, and that's what I'm going to make with these right here.
But before that, it was 320s.
Sure.
20s. And matter of fact, that Seattle deal was a fluke deal, because he is still the only one. It rained. They only got one round of qualifying.
Yep.
And he was the last one out in Pro Stock on Saturday evening, and he didn't get to make his run because it started raining again, and they had him actually come in. It was 6 or 7 o'clock the next day, and he made his one qualifying run Sunday morning, and then came back and went 4 rounds and won the race. A lot of people don't know that. But yeah, he did one qualifying run, got in as number 1 qualifier, and won the race all on the same day.
Nice.
Oh, Tim Johnson. There were some other racers that said, Buddy, let Dad beat him. And that's not the case. I mean, Buddy was running fast with that thing. And if you look at his times throughout the 4 rounds of elimination and Dad's times, he ran about like he should have, ET and speed, and Dad ran like he should have, ET and speed.
I can give you a little aside. If Brad Witt, if you're listening, we want to maybe get that Fairmont from you. He lives in a town in Illinois, about 10 miles from his house is where Buddy Ingersoll's car is still sitting. Hasn't been ran or touched in like 30-something years. It's sitting there under a cover.
That Buick?
Car.
The Buick? Tim, the Buick?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. If I go pick this car up, he knows the family. He was going to bring me to look at it. It's been sitting there since what year was that? That he ran it? 86. So it's been sitting there since 38 years. It's been sitting there, undercover, just sitting.
Wow.
Yeah, Buddy died. I don't know how long ago, but a while back, and the family just doesn't have the heart to do anything with it. But if I go there, they said I could probably come there and look at it and do an episode on it.
Daniel's got a good question for you, Tim.
Please remind viewers about the difference between port flow and port velocity. Yeah, I mean, here's my take on it. I could talk for too long on it, but the bottom line is port volume versus velocity. Cleveland heads have a big volume, but they're very slow. They're a dog in the low RPM unless you're leaving it 9 grand. So you either fill the port and make it smaller, which increases the velocity. The faster that air and fuel are going in, the more air and fuel you're going to get in there. So that's the important part, if that's what you're trying to say, Daniel.
What's up, Scott?
Hi, Scott. Here's one here. No, it's a weight break. You could explain that, Rusty. The weight break, that's why they went.
Yeah, Harry, it was because of the weight breaks that we had to deal with anyway. The more cubic inches, the closer to the 358 match you ran, the more weight you even had to put on. So he kept his stuff smaller so he could even run less weight, but still it didn't matter. They always penalized him throwing weight on him anyway. Tell Ricky Miles, you must have been there.
Here's a good one right here, which I kind of maybe know the answer.
Answer it.
So I don't know. 3 1/4 inch stroke is what they used to use. That was a popular stroke, or 300-400, somewhere in that range, depending on what length rod and the piston pin height. Here's a good. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now, Dave's a builder. He's a professional engine guy.
We never did. We never had a block pull out the main webbing. Ever. Even kicking the rods out of it.
He used regular Cleveland blocks. Now, he may have had an XE block here or there, but for the most part, Bob was using regular Cleveland blocks.
Oh, Cat's Garage has got a good one.
Let me see. Where is it? Up here. That one?
Yep. We used the same, what was it, 8? I think it was 8 AFT, 8-inch double disc clutches. But mine, we, just for, I guess to be safe, in case something had to happen to Dad's car and we had to work on it more than mine, we would take the discs and actually that was my job. I'd take a rosebud and heat them up, and I'd drop the hardness on them, and you never had to take them out. And it was still consistent, but Dad didn't want to do his that. Dad didn't want to do his that way. I mean, you know, I made it to the semifinals at had to run Dad at Dallas doing that. So it just depends on how much you test. Like I said, we test it all the time. How much you test with what you got, and that's the one thing he always did is, you know, to do that before we tried it at a national event. We went and tested it, and heat of the day, you know, you could go make a morning run, and by the heat of the day, you could adjust it and still go down the track and be consistent and competitive.
Hey, Adrian, thanks for watching. Appreciate you being here. My #1 fan in New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Oh boy. That would have been probably what, the 79 season?
80 is when he went, and that's the last one when he run, what, 4 in a row?
What's that?
1980? Or it was whatever, what in the later years, big block years, what was it? 85 through 89?
So what do you, I mean, well, what was, I don't.
Oh, sorry, this is what he's asking you.
Yeah, how did Bob keep it together pressure-wise when he got closer and closer to the unbeaten year? The only one that he came close to was 79. That was with the Dodge, because he won 8 of the 9 races. And yeah, I think that was about a mid-season race that he got beat at in the finals by, I think it was Lombardo, because he red lighted in the finals. That's the only reason he got beat. That's the only reason he didn't win every race in 79. But what they're talking about is the unbeaten year was the race after Englishtown of 79 to Englishtown, or from after Englishtown of 78 to, or Englishtown of 78 to Englishtown of 79. That year he won every race in that 1 year span, but it wasn't one complete race season. It was 2 seasons that came up to be 1 full year.
There's one for, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, MT Ram 426.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate that.
Very much. Yeah, our fans are just, they're still the best. That's all I can say. I mean, nothing better than my dad's fans, my family's fans.
Thank you, Dave McLean. Appreciate it.
You can probably answer the Rusty Allen one.
Let's see what it says here. I'll put it up. Thanks for doing these. Truly enjoyed and appreciated. It is not true that the D-stroked engines tend to rev easier, are usually higher. Is it not true that D-stroke tend to rev? Yes. Yeah, that is true. I mean, a 327, I mean, you can wind that thing to 9, 10 grand without any issues compared to a 408 stroker. So there is a big difference in that. That's why those cars left at 9.5 to 10 grand with the Lenco. Drop that clutch, so that's why.
You'll have to answer 69 Jenks' question, because I don't remember that.
I can tell you, you can see all the carbs back there. There's 2 sets of 4500s, and that's all they ever used. I never seen any of them use, sorry about this, never seen them use a 4150. So, not on a Cleveland.
Hey, thanks for doing this. Been looking forward all week. How in the later years, Tony Lehman, when we quit after the second race of 97, we were still with the 8-inch double disc. But when we got back on the Schumacher deal in 05, 06, we had the Ace 6 1/4-inch triple disc. And I'm pretty sure that's something about along those lines is what they're still using today, I would imagine. Like I said, I've been out of it, but you know, here again, that's like one of those things, riding a bike.
And here's what I'll comment on that, just to kind of tune in with that. Like your dad won Pro Stock from 85 to 89. That's 5 consecutive times, that run right there. Before that was Lee Shepard, and he only did 4. So your dad had 5 in a row. I think he was trying to ask you a question. How did your dad deal with pressure when he's getting down to the finals? I mean, was he the kind of guy that, did he talk to people? Or did he just sit in his trailer or just go right in his car, didn't want to talk? How was he when it came down to run?
He was never different. About the only time he really was, and at not every time, but at times he would get himself worked up when he had to run Lee Shepard.
Yep.
But pretty much everybody else, he got pumped up for. I mean, Butch Leal, he knew. I mean, he just knew he better be on time with Butch. So he's sitting in the car before he started up to pull the water box. He'd get himself ready for it. Because, as we all know, Butch will knock your socks off on the tree. And then here again, you know, Tony Christian, he was another good one. And Bruce Allen, yep. I mean, Bruce Allen was another one. Any of them could bite you at any time. I mean, it didn't matter who it was. Dexter Cameron, we got beat by him first round at Denver one year. And so, I mean, it doesn't matter. Anybody can beat you at any time. You just, I mean, I learned with him, you take nobody for granted. And you just take them all as they come to you.
I like this one. Pick one.
Which one?
Look at this one. Life size cut out.
Yep, I remember those. Yep, I remember those.
Me too.
I knew the roof and quarters were basically stock. Yeah, that is one thing we did get from Ford was our roof and rear quarters back when we had to run the stock roof and rear quarters. That is one thing we did get, yes. There's old Ronnie Kirkpatrick.
What's up, Ronnie?
Ronnie. Ooh, there's one for you. Joey Voiles.
You know what? Frank is a great guy. I don't know him personally, but I'll tell you, that guy, he knows his work. What is it, Frank Marquise or something? Marquise. He's a big builder in Australia. He knows his Clevelands. There's no doubt about that. Like it.
And then Dave McLean, until the, oh boy, what year was that? No, it was back like early 80s. Yeah, it was Watch the Tack. And a lot of them did it by sound. They just knew. After being in and making so many runs, they did it by sound. But until the rev limiters and stuff came out, it was all by sound or feel. So yeah, that was watching that, just like shifting. They didn't have shift lights either. Watch the tack. Roger Richardson. Yeah, Frank Iaconio, that was just his standard deal. He'd do a short burnout and roll up the stage. And
oh, did he really?
Yeah, matter of fact, that bit him at Topeka one year. Because Joe Lapone did a real long burnout. And matter of fact, he was, I think, one of the first ones with the hand shift at Liberty. because, you know, others were using the air shifters. And he got going in reverse, and he stopped with it in first gear, clutch in. He set it up this way, had plenty of air gaps, so he didn't have to set the line lock. He stopped in both lights, put it against the limiter. The tree came on, and he was going across the finish line before IHRA even knew what happened. I mean, he didn't back up past the starting line. He just backed up and stopped right in the tree, put it against the limiter. The tree came on, and he took off. And he was, I think his shoe was out before Frankie even realized what happened. And then Dad had me do that. I had to run Frankie in the semis in '93 at Sonoma. I beat Dad first round, Bruce Allen second round. I had to run Frankie, and that's where my steering wheel came off. The little quick pin broke. And I'm up there. There was a set on the starting line and a set in the water box. And Dad came back to the car, and he opened the door. And he said, "Now," he said, "you watch nobody but me." He said, "I'll tell you when to do your burnout." He said, "You do your burnout. You come out of the water box, go about 3 feet, push the clutch in." He said, "I'll get you up there." He said, "Put both lights on and be ready." I did. I mean, I left on Frankie like 8 or 9, maybe a tenth of a second. I mean, it just threw him, and I left on him really bad. And then, like I said, I went through third gear, just had a hold of the shifter column or shifter or the steering shaft. Went through third and first part of fourth before I realized I'm not going to get this thing stopped at the other end. So
here's one for you.
Yes, Ronnie. We don't discriminate here.
Hell no.
We're like God. We love them all. Even though Pro Stock is nothing but the Camaro show right now, but Bobby Orr, Lapone's move was awesome. Explain. I want to hear about this one.
Ali Papa, to the bottom of the water pump holes.
What's that?
Asking about filling the Cleveland block. How far? Bottom of the oil pump holes or water pump.
Yep. Did your dad ever work with any other engine builders, or did Ford ask him to help other teams? No. Only when he worked for like Larry Morgan. He worked for Morgan in most of 2000, I think part of 2003 and 2004. But that was about it. No, he never worked with any other engine builders. Oh, Harry. Chevy guys hated it. Yeah, your 351 Cleveland hurt other feelings. I don't doubt it. But
it was all fun and games until the 351 Cleveland came in.
Yep. And Bobby Orr, the 87, where'd he go? He had another question and it disappeared. Or no, Ricky Miles. The 87 Thunderbird was my dad's favorite car. Oh, yeah, I know what Bobby was talking about. The thing he did to Lapone, or Lapone did to Iaconio at Topeka. Yeah, that was, oh boy. Yeah, that was a good move. Billy Ward. Joey, I have no idea. He may have. I know he went there for a week or two, but I don't know. I don't remember. That was so long ago. I don't remember what he was doing. I think he's consulted with some Australians before with their stuff, but I don't know. Yeah, Ronnie Kirkpatrick. I wish I knew where that bird was and I had the money to buy it. I'd buy it. Do you have any experience in the Chi heads of Australia?
The CHI heads, I'll tell you, out of the heads in Australia, you have AFE, CHI, you got Scott Cook, you got the Higgins stuff.
AFE. I've heard of that.
AFD, Airflow Dynamics.
Yeah, AFD, yep.
So I think CHI, are for just a general head to buy, they're easy to get a hold of, I guess, compared to some of the other ones. They work pretty well. Scott Cook's heads rule, so they're a good head. Yeah, he's looking for that T-Bird.
Yeah, I wish I knew where it was at. I don't know who has the 87.
Now, I'll tell you something. I got an email yesterday from a guy that sent me the pictures, which I'm going to have in my next video, of your dad's 72 Pinto.
Oh, Lord.
It's now, this is what I heard. The guy has it. He's a body shop guy. It's sitting in his shop right now. I got pictures of it. It's a Hardy car. It was #2 built. It was your dad's #2 car. It's been verified, and it's sitting there. It had a Cleveland in it, and it blew, and it's still sitting in underneath the wraps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know the guy's name, so.
And then Frank. Oh, well, Steve Wellborn, yes, Billy did drive a comp car. That was for, oh, God, you would know. I draw, when I go to think about him, I draw a blank. It was a guy out of Texas, and he actually did really good with the car. It was, I think, a C-altered. He held the record for a while with it. Dad, Tim Johnson, Dad had a big hand in those when Dad was driving that car.
The guy's name was Chris Tatum. That's who told me about it. There's a picture of the car right there. I'll see if you can see it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's in Pennsylvania.
Oh, gosh. Find out which one he's got, Ronnie. Joey, I don't know about that one.
I don't think so. I mean, Higgins, those heads have only been out for the past maybe 3 years, 4 years. But he made his own heads that were good.
And then I don't know how to pronounce that name. Something Ford.
Oh, I see.
Probe took less horsepower to push through the wind at 200, but the 87 Thunderbird was real close. They changed the belly pan on the front ends for 88, and it wasn't as good as the probe, the 88, late 88 probe that we ran the last 3 races of 88 and all 89. But that 87 Thunderbird, when it had the belly pan on it, yeah, that was almost as good as the probe. I mean, it was really, really close. I think it was within a couple of horsepower at 200. I wish I was one of those cars, Ronnie. Cat's Garage. Yes, Billy did work for David Nickens for a while. Joey, I don't know. I'd have to ask Billy, and he's in Kentucky right now. Craig, yes, Dad liked the probe. He'd tell you the same thing, that he really never got a handle on it because it was such a short wheelbase. And it was, I mean, we could get down the track consistent with it, but consistently fast, quick was a different thing. And Steve Wilburn, yes, you're right. Marvin Shaw, that's who he drove for. That's who my brother drove the comp car for. Everything shows up in this state. Roger Richardson. The only one I can remember my brother being known for was the one in 2015 at Englishtown against Troy Coughlin in the semifinals of Pro Mod. That's the only one I can remember.
Thanks, Terry. Appreciate that.
I just saw somebody, Ricky Miles said vintage race car restorations in Georgia has the 86 chassis, the one that replaced the crash car. Wow, that's pretty cool. And Scott Lovell, it was the late 80s, the up to like what 91, 92, 93 Pro was better than the 94, 95 for sure. Terry Grover. Thanks, Terry. And Rusty Allen, yes, Billy did design some stuff with the Edelbrock stuff. Yeah, Billy was real good with that small block stuff too. He's back with the 10.5 stuff before he started running the big engines with nitrous. Yeah, people didn't like him either.
You know, give a big shout out to Nostalgia Pro Stock Association, and that's what Ronnie runs. So that's something that's pretty cool. You guys might think about being into that type of thing. And you can get on their Facebook group. There's plenty of guys that are into that kind of thing. There's a little symbol up there. I put it up there so we could see it. And he's into Hemis and all that Pro Stock era for the Mopar era, which I'm going to be bringing to you live with Joe Pappas when that comes around. So, yeah, check it out on Facebook, Nostalgia Pro Stock Association. So there's a shout out for you, Ronnie. Thank you.
Yes. That's a good organization. Really good. And somebody just had a question. Tim Johnson. I can't really tell you that. I really don't know the answer to that one because we never got to the Thunderbird for 89. We ran the last 3 races of 88 with the 80. I think it was really, they called it an 88.5 probe, but it was really the 89 probe. And that's what we ran in 89. So we never saw Thunderbird after we went to the probe in 88. So I don't know why the 89 Thunderbird was short-lived in the mountain motor class. And all right, Rick Viss is 44. He doesn't do anything anymore. He's tire testing for Mickey Thompson, and that's all he's doing right now. He's not running races. And Kat, no, Mom does not have any more of the birds. They're all at Parrot Jungle in Florida.
Parrot Jungle.
Matter of fact, that's funny you asked that because Mom's wanting to go see one of her birds, and I told her I'd go down there with her. I remember Size. Yeah, Bruce Sizemore. Yep. Somebody mentioned that earlier.
LB Papa. Oh, go ahead.
I don't understand the question, Scott. Where's Ollie? Thanks for your advice. Oh, and he's from Australia too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's
You're
one.
gonna-
That's one place I want to go visit sometime.
We're going down there. If you're going to fill that block, fill it, let it sit for about a month, and then bore it and machine it. If you're not going to bore it, fill it, and then hone it. But don't, you got to re-hone it at least after you fill it, because it's going to change on you. And make sure you tighten up the mains and put the heads on it too after you do one side.
And Craig, I don't know if Dad he may have been approached. I don't remember, but I know he never did anything for any other companies. So
Wheels, remember the wheels, the Glidden wheels?
well, yeah, for Weld, yeah, that was Weld wheels, yeah.
Weld, is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't. No, it wasn't engine parts. Yes, that. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Ford guy, the ARKHSM Ford.
Just call him Adrian.
Yeah, that was a bad deal. With what had just happened to Lee Shepard, not even a year and a half prior to that, yeah, that was a bad deal. Michael Thompson. That is a really good question, sir. That is a really good question. What would be my opinion on the elephant in the room? What do you think would make today's pro stock more interesting? It seems like pro stock's best years are behind us.
Gone.
Well, a lot of it has to do with corporate involvement. There's none with Ford, and there's none with Chrysler. It's all GM. And yeah, there's might be a Ford or two out there, but they're running GM motors, which nothing against those people, but I don't consider that a Ford. It's a Ford, but it's not a true Ford. So like if I was to do that, I would do what it takes to be a true Ford. Before they went to the fuel injection thing, there was actually talk of going back to the 358 max cubic inches, but with starting out with small turbos. That is, in my opinion, that's the way they should have gone. Simply because it would have opened up the market for your other Toyotas, Nissan, Hondas, Scion, and it would have brought people from all across the world to come here and race, because there's already people that have those kind of cars with those cubic inches running really fast. Now, granted, they might have to put smaller turbos on, but they already know what it would take. And I mean, you would see because that's what everything's coming to, small block stuff. Well, it's never gone to the big block anyway, but the small block stuff with power adders, your superchargers, your turbos, that's what they should have gone to, because all that's going to do is attract more corporate Ford Motor Company, Chrysler Corp, GM, they've got the market cornered right now in NHRA Pro Stock. So, but it would have brought more corporate dollars to NHRA. And going the route they did, because they were almost ready to make that a deal, and then all of a sudden, bam! It went from talking to the small block twin turbo to fuel injection. Well, doing that got rid of all kind of people. A lot of people quit.
Check this out.
Oh, that's a heck of a.
Now the wheels are turning, aren't they, Rusty?
That's a heck of a car just to have.
You're always pulling out something.
How about a grumpy match race?
It's my fault there.
Oh no, you're good. Move the factory stocks, Cobra Jet, Copo, drag packs as pro stock, and start over. put that back. I mean, they make 1,400 horsepower. That's as much as the Pro Stock cars are making now. But go and take that, what is it, 1,000 pounds off of them in a full chassis body or a full chassis car. How much faster are they going to run? I mean, you know, they're running 750s at what, 180 now. So how much faster are they going to run? Because I think they run those, what, 3,500 pounds? Isn't that what they run those cars at the factory stock?
I think so. Yeah.
Or close to that. So take 800 to 1,000 pounds out and then put a full tube chassis car under it. Just take that drive line and put it in a Pro Stock chassis and see what happens. I mean, you're going to see
680s.
You'll see 580s.
Wow.
You know, you would see 6.0s easy at 220 to 230 easy.
Wow. Thanks, Daniel. We got to talk.
How about a grumpy match race story? Oh boy, pulling 4010. I'll tell you, Dad and Grumpy, they used to love to match race each other. Oh God, what was it? I'll never forget. Poor Grumpy. I'm telling you, guy was one of the smartest men out there, like my dad. But every now and then, you can have a brain fart. And I think we were at Union Grove, Wisconsin, and Jenkins did something, I think unloading his car and hurt the front end. It was fiberglass back then. And was fixing it. And, you know, it was able to be repaired right there at the racetrack, but he couldn't find a heat gun because, you know, with fiberglass, the quicker you get it hot, the sooner it sets. So he came over, and before we knew it, he got our little torch set from us and almost burned his front end to the ground trying to heat the fire. Brand new laid fiberglass. It almost burned it to the ground. But I mean, I'll never, I mean, I could go on. There's pictures I've got somewhere of Jenkins. Dad had a backfire with the small block, and what it is, it blew fuel up into the carburetor when it backfired, and it caught it on fire. And Jenkins actually took the hood off, put the fire out, and then put it back on. Dad went out to run. And I mean, that wasn't a match race deal, but I think that was a points meet. Was
that with the Pinto?
Yes, that was.
I got a picture of it.
That's the old Pinto bean. Yep.
I got a picture of it.
Jenkins got his cigar hanging out, putting it out with a rag. Yep. Well, Michael Morton, the only problem they've got with the factory stock right now is the Fords are being penalized. That's why they've lost a lot of the Fords in the class. They're slowing their superchargers down and not the other two brands. And they're basically killing the class because they're not doing that isn't making the other brands work harder to catch up to the Ford cars. Instead, they're slowing the Ford cars down so that the other brands don't look so slow, which is not fair. So, yeah, that's a good class, but not if you're a Ford.
Let me see if I can show you. Right there he is.
Yep. That's it. That's the one.
So give me a time frame because this is going in my video for tomorrow.
That was
70.
That's the 72 Pinto.
Yeah.
That's the 72 Pinto.
Yeah.
I even went and stayed for, God, I think I was what, 10, 11, somewhere around in there. We left Englishtown. Well, leaving Englishtown, I went and stayed with Bill And his wife for about 2 weeks, and then went to the next race with them. Just, I guess, because their daughter is about my age, and I probably just needed to my mom and dad probably just needed a break from me. So if I had to guess, but no, I mean, it was fun. I mean, he was a hard worker, but I'm telling you what, Grumpy was just, I don't know where he got the grumpy from, because he wasn't grumpy. He was always in thought, and he was just one of those people that if you walked up to him and had a question for him without getting his attention and just started talking to him, it would kind of throw him. That's where you get there, what? And so, I mean, but he wasn't grumpy. I mean, I'm telling you, he was a great, his whole family is great. Matter of fact, I'm friends with his daughter on Facebook, and great family. Wow, Ricky knows some stuff, don't he?
Let's see this one here. Then you must be talking about this.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. When you hear your dad tell the story, and you'll hear it in my video that's coming up, it's like, wow, puts it in perspective.
Okay, I don't understand. What'd you say, Adrian?
Yeah, Adrian, yeah, from New Zealand.
I don't understand his comment with the new big blocks too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't follow racing currently.
I mean, there is no Fords. They can't penalize the Fords unless you're talking about the factory stock class. The pro stock class, there's no Fords. I mean, it's everybody. The only ones that's running true, that's not a Chevy. And if I had a hat, my hat's off to him, is Alan Brzezinski with the Dodge, and he's giving it, 1,000%, trying to make that thing competitive. And he's doing pretty good at it for not really having the funding to do it like he needs, factory backing and so on and so forth. Thanks, Joey. When did that happen, Scott? Did you know that, Tim?
What's that?
The Copos have an option of a 572.
Never heard that.
I haven't heard that either.
Well, there's some Chevy guys on here. They'll probably come up with that. I stopped probably from like about 2003. I just kind of stopped with all racing. I got tired of it. Didn't thrill me anymore. 2003, 4. I just gave up. NHRA.
Roger Richardson, you're right. Ford has their small block stuff. For years they've been on the top of the totem pole with their small block stuff. And Dave McLean, I'm not sure about the grumpy thing. Like I said, I don't really remember how that started, because I think he had that name before I was even born. But he's just, him and my dad thought the world of each other, just like Warren and my dad. Warren and Arlene and Kurt, they're all, everybody. I mean, I'm telling you, the only time the knives come out was when the top pre-stage lights are on.
Yep.
And that's when it's cutthroat right there.
Did you ever see that picture of Grumpy when he's lying on a white shag rug naked with a cigar?
Yeah.
Yeah. That kills me. But that is the funniest picture. That's like 75 or 6, somewhere around there, 76.
Yep. Stephen Dutton. I'm not even going to touch that question. Oh, Cat's Garage says in 2022, the Coco has a 572 option.
Well, look at this one right underneath it.
572 in 2022. Thanks, Alan.
Wow.
Yes, Dave McClain.
Yeah.
He was the highest paid athlete.
Yeah.
I think it was for a couple of years. Pulling 4010. That was before my time, but I don't doubt it. I mean, I don't remember that far back, but
You'll see it on my video. I already got it incorporated in there.
Dale Rogers. Are you trying to get me shot? Put his question up there. Put his comment up there.
What's that now?
Dale Rogers. He's trying to get me killed.
You know what's funny, though? I'll tell you. I love Ford. I prefer Ford. I got blue blood. But I like all engines. Anything with a motor, anything that has, I don't care, a lawnmower, man. I love it all.
Okay, Tim.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Why have I not been told about the candy shop?
DragBoss has a candy shop. I didn't know I had one, Joey. I don't know.
I'm diabetic, but if my wife don't know, I can still eat it.
I think he's talking about all these parts we got to get moving on.
All those
That's what
parts.
I think he's talking about.
Thanks, Joey. I thought we were going to get like some Snickers candy bars or something. Would you compare? Rusty Allen's got a good one.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't. And let me explain why I would not compare a perfect light to a hole-in-one in golf. Because a perfect light, I mean, you can make that perfect swing to get that hole-in-one, but you can have a perfect light and still get beat. What was it? Was it Tanner Gray? I can't remember what race. But it was Tanner Gray and I think Erica. It was either Tanner or Shane Gray. They were running each other, I think, in a semifinals or a finals, and they both had 000 lights. So, I mean, no, I would not consider that the same as a hole-in-one. Now, if you, like Ekman did, and if you go to the '89 Denver race and watch the interview after the final rounds between my dad and Ekman, Ekman picked my dad's pocket that year for the $35,000 or $30,000. He got $30,000 more than Dad did at the Winston Invitational because he beat my dad in the finals on a hole shot. And Dad brought Steve Evans brought that up. Yeah, that's a good. If you can, that's on YouTube. Go watch it. I watch a lot of Dad's old races, and just so I can hear his voice, and that's one of my favorite interviews. Oh, that's a good question, Kat. Who was the king on the basketball court? Wasn't it at the race shop? Yeah, at the race shop, yeah.
There's a picture of the hoop right there.
Well, that's the one in Beech Grove.
Oh, okay.
That's an 8-foot goal. The one in Whiteland has a 10-foot goal.
Does it really?
Yes. And
Beech Grove, okay.
I'd say probably Billy and Dad, just depending on the night. And then I was behind the two of them because both of them, they were both really good ball players. I mean, like I said, my brother played for, I think, 3 years, the NBA Pro-Am Summer League. So,
wow.
Yeah, that ain't no doubt. The 94 Mustang, yeah, that thing was horrible in the air, too. That's why we didn't run it. We actually tested it at Houston and then went from there to the wind tunnel and found out that above 150 mile an hour, that thing was like having double chutes thrown out from there on up to 200.
Wow.
Greg Newman, Godzilla is fixing to eat the LS motors.
Yeah, that's a mean motor, that Godzilla.
Joey, you find that tub of candy, let me know where it's at, because I'm going to his shop in not too long. I'm gonna rate that candy. I'll send you some.
I got to give a shout out to John Wilborn. And I'll tell you why. So listen, guys. So right now we got 149 people on here. So I want to give a shout out to John Wilborn because he hooked me up with Uncle Tony. So on Monday night, Uncle Tony's Garage is going to be on DragBoss Garage YouTube channel. It's going to be epic. So I appreciate the help you've given me. And Uncle Tony, if you're watching, this is going to be a cool episode. You know, Mopar meets Ford. And I think it's going to be very interesting. So shout out to Uncle Tony's Garage. Thank you. And John Wilborn, appreciate it.
Yes. And Albie, Papa, if I ever make it down there, you're on.
I don't drink, but I can do the driving.
There you go. Yeah, because I'll be passed out in the back seat with one. What was my dad's favorite quotes? Oh boy. When he would get into staging battles, I think it was mostly with Warren, but a few with Larry Morgan. And then if he was lucky enough to get in the interview and McClellan or Steve Evans brought it up, his favorite quote was, "I just sat there till the sun fell out of the sky. I wasn't staging first."
I'll give a shout out about Larry Morgan now. The guy that's going to be dynoing my 409 Cleveland. I've had a few motors dynoed there. He's buddies with Larry Morgan. He might talk to him, and we might get him on the show too.
Cool.
That'd be pretty cool to have all of us on here. You know what I mean? You'd be interested in that, wouldn't you, Rusty?
Yeah, because matter of fact, I'll give you a question for him.
Okay.
Ask him if my dad ever threw up on him.
On him?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I know they hung out. He used to hang out at his shop in Newark, Ohio. He worked for Larry for a little while.
Yeah, Dad worked for him, but when Dad had his 5-way bypass,
yep.
Larry came to Indy to the hospital, and Dad was, I think earlier that day they pulled his chest tubes out, and for the drain tubes.
Sure.
And he really couldn't sit up on his own. He had to have somebody stabling him. And Larry was stabling him, and he finally got to where he could eat some ice chips.
Yep.
And he was so hungry, he ate too many. I mean, granted, it was water.
Yeah.
But he told Larry, he said, "Larry, you need to move. I'm going to throw up." And Larry said, "Well, I'm not letting go of you, so let her go." I mean, it was just a little bit, but yeah, he did. Yeah. Larry didn't flinch. Larry's good people.
Thanks, John.
What was my dad's favorite basketball team? That's Greg Newman. That's an easy one. Coached by Bobby Knight, the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yep.
I mean, we watched them religiously. I mean, we would be working at the shop, and he knew when an IU ball game was on Friday, Saturday, or whatever night of the week it was on, and Mom would have dinner ready. We'd go down there to the house, across the field to the house. We'd eat dinner while watching the ball game, and when the ball game was over, we'd go back down to the shop. Sometimes we'd even have it on at the shop. Yeah, John Wilburn. Yeah, Morgan is, yeah. Yeah, Larry's, he's a hoot.
He is. Here's a good one. Whoops, sorry if you didn't see that.
Oh, no, you're fine. If it wouldn't have been for Dad, no. I mean, like I said, Dad went to the 70 Mustang, back to the Pinto, to the Fairmont, and it didn't matter what car he was in. After a couple runs, they were throwing weight on him. They were changing the weight brakes, just like the Dodge, the 79. After the first qualifying run, they put weight on him.
75 pounds, right?
But only him. Not all the, it wasn't just a Dodge weight brake. That was the Bob Glidden special. They had weight brakes for Ford, Dodge, and Chevy, and then that year they had another one for just Bob Glidden.
Right, the BG they called it.
Oh, there's a good one. Floyd Hilburn, Budds Creek, Maryland. Oh God. Last time I was at Budds Creek was, I believe that was 94. And I was at that Pro Stock race that they had there, and went from there to Richmond to do the 16 car field they had there when Richmond, Virginia track opened up. But at Budds Creek, the wishbone broke, and I almost couldn't get the car stopped after one of my qualifying runs at Budds Creek, and came about 10 feet. 10 feet, I got the car stopped 10 feet before the big concrete wall at the very end. I mean, it had like over 3,000 feet of shutoff, which is more than plenty, but the front of the car was going straight, and the back of the car was doing side to side because the wishbone was just, the rear end housing was just going side to side. And then I ended up going to, I think, the semifinals before I got beat by Yates. I beat, I think, Rampy and Schmidt first and second round. And then Yates beat me in the semis. I believe that's what it was. Yeah, that's a good place. Now, that track's really, they've fixed that one up, and it's really nice now, going by everything I've seen.
Thanks, Rusty. Rusty Allen, another Rusty.
There you go. Yep, thanks, Rusty. Oh, boy. Greg Newman. Do you want to hear a Roy Hill story? It doesn't involve my dad, but it does me. I got invited to Roy Hill's drag racing school to be a guest instructor.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I think that was the year Alan Johnson, the one who won the championship, I think in 2012, and was the king of Denver for, won it, 7 or 8 or however many, was in the final like 9 or 10 or 11 years in a row. And he was there getting his license. I believe this was the year. And, I'd been out of the car for a while. And I kept asking Roy, hey, you ready for me to make a run? Ready for me to make a run? And finally, on the second day, I did a couple burnouts, to show him what to do, what not to do, how to stage, and so on and so forth. And I was really wanting to make a run. And finally, the second day, about the second time I asked him, he said, yeah, I am. He said, go get suited up in the Thunderbird. And, here it is. It's, low 80s, so, it's hot, sitting inside one of them race cars.
Oh, yeah.
I'm suited up. And I fell asleep. But that was his deal. He purposely put me in the car to do that, so I leave him alone. In other words, I took my cues from him. So finally, he says, hey, you awake in there? And I, yep, I'm awake. He said, bring that thing up here. Said, okay. And the one thing you always never did, his students had to learn to stop the car without the parachute, because Rockingham has a real long shutoff. And you're never supposed to do a long burnout. And Roy was standing up there, and I was just being a little smarter like that I was back then. And I did a long burnout. Well, made him move real quick. I knew I wasn't going to hit him. I made him move real quick. Well, he didn't like that. So then I back up, and I go up. They set the wheelie bars, get my top light on, set the brake pressure, roll into the second beam, put it against the limiter. Tree comes on, I let the clutch out, go through first, second, third, fourth, fifth, reach up, and I grab the chute. Finish line, I pulled the chutes. He got so mad, he took his earphones off and threw them on the ground and exploded them and ended the radio. And then he left for 2 hours. And when he came back, I said, you all right, Roy? He goes, I wanted to kill you. So I walked out with my arm around him. I said, Roy, let me tell you, you ain't got nothing on Mad Dog Bob. And finally, we both started laughing. But he finally forgave me. But yeah, that's a good Roy Hill story. That's Dad and Roy. I know they had a lot of really good IHRA runs. And Roy was never one to take for granted. Because when he was on, he was on. When Roy was on, he was going to win the race. Didn't matter what he did. Somebody, if he was late, whoever was running was going to red light, or they would break. When it was Roy's day, it was Roy's day. But he was always fast. Like I said, he put us out several races because, he was just good on the tree and ran fast. But, he also had Bill, I can't remember what Bill's last name was, his crew chief, Bill. That guy knew his stuff when it came to that mountain motor stuff and those IHRA tracks. It was just a good team. They're good now. Just what he does, just the thing he did by starting that drag racing school was just, I think that's been a big surge since he started that with drag racing, bringing not only for pro stock but for all the other classes, comp, super comp,
sure.
Top dragster, all the classes that he licenses and teaches to drive, and it's just been a really good deal for the sport of drag racing in both NHRA, IHRA, and even your ADRLs, PDRLs, NMCA, and MRAs. It's been good for all of them.
Well, two subscribers on here. Brian Baker has his Mercury Capri Pro Stock car. He was on here. And Ronnie Kirkpatrick has his Duster that was built by Richard Petty. He's restoring it right now as we speak.
All right. Adrian, what'd you say?
Adrian, yeah.
Adrian, your dad was so special, NHRA gave him a special weight break to call his own legend. Yeah, Roy did get run over, and he is on the mend, though. So that's a good thing. I can't wait to see that car that you're working on, too. That Duster.
Well, look at this. Did you see this little note? Yeah.
Yeah, remember we talked about that. I said in those days he wasn't using enough. Remember that?
Yeah.
And then when I learned cat, yes, we were air shifted. When I got my license, it was, well, let me back that up. I got my license with a 4-speed Linko, and everybody, because we didn't have enough at the time to use for Liberty. And then I made my first race, which was Denver, 92, qualified. What's that? What was that?
It was a buddy of mine. Sorry, I interrupted you. Robbie.
Denver, I qualified 16th and had to run Scott Jeffrey on first round and got beat, of course. You know, I left on him really bad, but he spun me around about 1,000 foot. So, and then we went from there to Sonoma, and I didn't run Sonoma. Or no, I wasn't going to run Sonoma, but my dad's mom, my grandmother, died. So Dad we didn't think he was going to be there. So we unloaded, myself and the truck driver unloaded my car and made the 2 Friday qualifying runs. And Dad ended up actually showing up Saturday and bumped me out of the field. And then I think he went semifinals maybe. And then we went from there. Everybody would always go from Sonoma to Woodburn to run the test and then the Wednesday night race. And that's where we first put a Liberty in my car. And then I ran Seattle with the Liberty, air shifted it for the first time. And that's actually where I got my first round win, was against Jim Yates' first round at Seattle, 92. So yeah, it was Linko and then Liberty for me. And Rick Viss 44, yes, you do have to shift yourself. Whoa. Okay, Ronnie. 3 head, okay. One of them wasn't mine, was it?
Ronnie, we're going to do a live chat with you. You're on deck, so don't forget.
Where did the name Mad Dog come from? His competitors actually gave that to him because they would complain about him so much and he would get so mad that he'd come out either next round or at the next race and be even faster. And they actually, on one of the Pintos, I believe it was, they actually paid the painter, some of the other drivers, pulled, it was only maybe a couple $100, but paid the painter to put right behind the, on the little top of the rear quarter where the back windshield comes across, and then here's your other door window.
Sail panel.
Put Mad Dog right there. And it was painted on. It wasn't a sticker. It was painted on. And, he made them pay for that. Yeah, he made them pay for that. Ooh. All right, Robert. Which year? That's the question. Is it the 84, 85, or 86?
I'll show it to you right here. Here it is here on the street. I think that's Larry Morgan right there.
Oh, God.
I don't know if you can see it, but that's the car.
Yep.
And I don't know. So did this guy Al Moody buy it? Because the car underneath here says Al Moody, but that's Larry Morgan and the car right there.
Jeff Miller, that's true.
Here's one for us. This is for me and you. We're working on it.
Yes, slow process, but we'll get it there.
We got a couple weeks now before we're going to have another interview between Rusty and I. So I'll be working on it.
Wow. Adrian, I would have to say the my personal favorite Pro Stock car, which was one of ours, was the '86 Thunderbird.
Yeah.
Because that was the year I graduated high school, and that was the year Dad crashed, and then we still came back and won the championship. So that was my favorite car. Craig, yeah. He disappeared. Oh, Patrick Tracy. Billy still got that. That's the one he's using for the tire tests for Mickey. Yes, Adrian, he went on Bad Dog on him. There's a red T-Bird in Minden, Nebraska. Really appreciate these sessions. Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
Thanks, Rusty Allen.
We appreciate it.
In Minden. But is it, yeah, but do you know if it's one of my dad's, or is it Nitro Fumes 2012? Is that one of my dad's, or is it one of old Ricky's cars? Or maybe even Iaconio's Ford that he ran for, what, a year? Races at Kearney Raceway Park. Ronnie Kirkpatrick. Like I needed to be reminded.
Let me go back to this one because this is a question for you, Rusty.
Okay. Oh, that was.
Oops.
I had notebooks, just like a normal, basically a high school student would have, the big 5-ring, the ring 5 subject binders or whatever they call them. And everything was wrote down in those. Every run it would have, if we made any change, timing, ignition timing, starting line leaf, shift light, shock changes, transmission ratios, rear end. I mean, it had everything, what first, second, third, fourth, and fifth was, what rear end it had, jetting in the carburetors, even squirters, everything to do with the clutch. And also, it also had what engine we had, because we named all of our engines for that reason. It had everything to do with the clutch, what the ring height was, base, counterweight, you name it, air gap, what the 2-step was, everything went in it. And then after the run, any follow-up notes went with that, which Dad would give me, from his feel of the run. And after looking at the computer, we'll write this down because we need to know this if we come across this, and weather conditions as well. So we can make, if we're at another track and the track's, kind of like it was, at say 4 or 5 races ago, and the air conditions the same, we know for what engine, what the clutch needs to be and what other stuff, for like a starting baseline for a first qualifying run. So everything was in it. I mean, if it was to be, if it could something that could be changed, it was wrote down. Donald Wilson, there you go. There's where it came from.
Donald Wilson and Tom Burnell. There's your answer.
Yeah, I remember them both. Oh God, Tom Burnell. This guy was really tall and he was real skinny. And they had, I don't remember what car it was. I think it was the Maverick. And they had it jacked up one day and Burnell was under it. And all the tires were on and it fell off the jack. And it still, I mean, there were still 2 or 3 inches between him and the bottom of the car. And he was screaming like a little girl. Nothing touched him. I mean, he was good workers, both of them. Oh, maybe he did. You know what? Patrick Tracy, you might be right about that. Because I know he's using the Black Fox body Mustang. That he's had that thing for many years. Back in the 90s, anyway.
Yeah, I remember the other Mustang.
Dave McLean, that's a really good question. The thing with that was, can you highlight his question?
Yeah.
The thing with that was he did try to get Ford to do stuff earlier, and their first trial was by a block and cylinder head designed by a guy that did stuff to go in 500 miles in a circle, not a quarter mile on a straight line. And so then Dad went and spent the money himself and did his own block and cylinder head. And Ford gave him part numbers for it. And it is actually what we ended up with the last half of 96 in both cars. Well, it was in Billy's car all season and then Dad's car from Denver on. Pretty much Denver on. And then that's when Ford had dropped us, but we didn't know till it was too late in the season. So, but yeah, Dad did try to get them to work, with him to do some different R&D, cylinder head and block stuff. But it just never came to, I guess you call it fruition until too late per se. And I think that would have, if they would have gone the 2, 3, 4 years before when he first started asking, I think things would have been a lot different. I think you would have seen more wins and maybe possibly another championship before he retired. So
NHRA got tired of him winning, 78, 79, and 80, and they said, we better do something about this. So that's why they changed it, I bet.
Yeah, but he destroyed that for him when he won the 85, 80, or 80, what was it?
84.
85, 86, 87, 88, 89 championships.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Lee Shepard had 4, and Bob comes in and puts down 5. Bam! 5 years in a row. It's great. Great.
Well, Shepard was still, he still would have won some, but Dad just got on a roll.
He had to have died he had to die in 84, later part of 84, 85, Lee Shepard.
It was in October of 84.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, October or November. In it was one of the tracks in Texas. It wasn't Houston or Dallas. I'm wanting to say, no, it was in Tulsa. I believe it was in Tulsa.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that, but I think that's when it was. Cat's Garage, yes. Yeah, those Hemis, it was hard to get any compression ratio in them. But if we could have, it would have been, oh my God, it would have been a totally different world.
You probably can't weld the chambers up enough to make them small enough and be efficient at the same time.
Not with the valves being
Right.
so canted to
Sure.
one color. I mean, because the valves were like that, intake and exhaust.
Rocker arm like this long for the exhaust.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were. That was another every run check. You check all the exhaust rockers.
What'd they last? 3 or 4 runs?
Oh, it just depended. Some, I mean, I think we've actually gone a couple races and only changed, 2 or 3 out. But then we've gone races where after every qualifying and elimination run, even winning the race, you're changing an exhaust rocker out.
Give a shout out.
Go ahead.
Dr. Ron Burgess. Now, you know him. He's got those pro stock cars. People correct me. They're not pro stock cars, but they're kind of in that era, we'll say. But he just got a set of AR heads done for Jessel setup.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. I told you, he's got that pro stock car. So he's getting the heads done now. That thing's going to be coming out. Somebody's going to have to be sitting in it.
There you go.
There you go.
Roger Richardson. I really appreciate those kind words. That's awesome. Thank you. And Tom's 5-0, the Thunderbirds were your favorite? Well, they were mine. Well, they were my dad's favorite too. Like I said, the 86 was mine. That's just sentimental because it was the year I got out of high school and Dad had the wreck and we won the championship. But yeah, 87 was my dad's favorite because I think 87 was the year we won 7 of the first 11 races.
Wow.
And Gavin, 84, no, I was not involved in that. And Dad was, or I wasn't even an observer. I didn't work on that deal. Dad actually spent a whole lot of time over in their shop over on the East Coast, wherever that's at, working on motors and getting that thing. 2011, he would have probably come out done pretty good, but the World Finals of 2010 is when he had that massive heart attack after the first round of qualifying, and that put an end to his driving.
Yeah, but that happened when he was racing at the track.
Yeah, he made the first round of qualifying at the World Finals in 2010, and he made a full run, pulled the chutes, made the turn off, got the car stopped, and then when the safety safari guy that rolls the parachutes up, when he threw the parachutes in the passenger door, he noticed Dad was unconscious. And they got him out of the car, and as they were getting him out, he came to. Mm-hmm. And then about the time they got his helmet and neck brace off, he had a massive heart attack and fell backwards and split his head open, and that's what ended up causing, a month later, causing his 4 grandma seizures back to back to back to back.
Wow.
So, and Gavin, I was not even a observer on that. I went to, I think, Indy and watched, didn't really do much. I didn't get to help or anything because, they had a full crew. But, and Bobby Orr, I think he's talking about the Shepard crash, Ardmore, Oklahoma.
What's up, VRM? Thanks for being here.
Happy Friday, yeah.
Here's your buddy right here.
Oh, yeah, that's all.
He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. We talk on their comments.
I like that Fuddfucker. Steve Coes, the Clevo. Yep, Bob's. Yep. Streetcar I drove in my wild days. Oh, God. Really? Really, Scott? Really? Hold on. Let me answer one more question real quick. Oh boy, I guess you're asking Kat about the Boss 429. Valve springs were changed. They were checked after every run, and I don't remember what pressure was because it's changed a whole bunch from then to now. I don't remember what pressure he changed them, but it was they were changed quite a bit. And then RPM at the finish line was 95, 9,600. That's as hard as we turned them. We could have turned them harder, but he didn't want to chance it because, like I said, the pin bosses were really bad in those. But oh, Scott Lovall, what street car did I drive in my wild days? I had a 68 fastback with a 351 in it, automatic. And that got taken away from me because I was still in school, and Mom and Dad went out of town and decided they were going to leave me by myself at home, and that was a bad mistake because I ended up having a big party and ended up having the police called on us.
Nice.
So of course it got sold as soon as they found out. So, but yeah, it was a nice car. And other than that was the Granada, this inline six Granada, that if it was humid or raining out, you had to put it in neutral when you were coming up to a stoplight or a stop sign or in traffic because it would die, and then it almost never want to start. You'd have to sit there. I mean, it would bed, and I mean, you got to stay, hitting the throttle to keep it running, and then kick it down into gear. The Courier pickup truck was another one. That one I put a big old radio system in it, and had two great big old home speakers sitting in the back window. So yeah, I had some good old times back then. Albie's got a medical question for you.
Oh yeah, how about this one? So I think she's talking about SVT, supraventricular tachycardia. So it's a condition that people will get when their heart rate will start jumping up to 160, 180 beats per minute. Oh yeah, a lot of things that cause it it could be inherent genetics, could be energy drinks are a cause of it, electrolyte disturbances, potassium, magnesium. Usually those people are put on a beta blocker to slow down the heart rate. If it happens to you and you're young, you can do a carotid massage. You can try Valsalva maneuver to try to break it, but avoid energy drinks and that kind of stuff. I hear that kind of cause an issue. Get on a beta blocker. There you go. Talk to your doctor.
Oh, VRM. My mom had the Mercury Monarch. Yeah, that was the Mercury version of the Granada.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that thing was. It was a nice car. Don't get me wrong, but it was that inline six was just a turd. Did I ever street race that 68? No, I never street raced that one. Now the 89 Mustang. I don't know why, but I got a loaner car that year. Like Dad got the Crown Vic, and I for some reason got a brand new 89 with T-tops, and I put nitrous on it. And yeah, a friend of mine ended up blowing that thing to smithereens. Oh boy, Rusty Allen. He always kept 51 to 52% on the rear. Hector fumes, 2012. Still have them. I don't remember. I don't know what that question's from.
Well, let's think about this because we're already at over 2.5 hours again.
Okay.
We probably should start thinking about cutting it down, and then because here it's already 10 o'clock, and that's a tough thing when you got people around the world and people on the West Coast. It's hard to get everybody's time frame set up.
One quick one, real quick. Teddy,
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Spark plugs from your dad. That's what he's talking about.
No. Nope, I don't have any. I've got some memorabilia stuff, but I'm definitely not going to part with it. But I guess we call it for this one.
Yeah.
And let me know when you're going to Bischoff's.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know how far you are from that area. Probably at least 2 hours. It looks like on the map. No. How far?
They're in Lawrenceburg, right?
Like Gillianburg or something.
Yeah, but that's down by Lawrenceburg.
I don't know.
I'll find out. Yeah, I think I'm about an hour and a half away from there. That's not bad.
Dang, we should all meet there, man. Can you imagine it?
That's fine.
That'll be an epic episode. Oh, yeah. Yep, I see the shirts. We're working on it because you're going to be out for a little bit, so probably a couple weeks before we meet again. And I'll try to get that on there. I'm going to talk to my wife to help me because it's just too much. I can't keep up with everything, and so I want to get that going. So I'll try to have a goal of at least getting a design done and getting it ready for the DragBoss shirts, and then we'll talk about the Glidden part. That's coming. We already had talked about that, so it's awesome you guys are here. I appreciate it. 146 people. Everybody enjoyed it, I hope. And I think no problem here. It's only 11:50 a.m. Gibbsy and 9 in Australia.
Cat's Garage. Hit me up on Facebook so I can get you a phone number.
Nice. So leave on the comments if you guys are into this and you want to come back and see some more. Leave a comment on there. I'm going to give some shout outs to the people that I know, and I know they're watching this. A lot of guys from Columbus, Ohio. The Shoe, Larry Berry, Jim and Ryan Solomon, Dennis Sniff, if you're watching. I took some of your video off YouTube. It's going to be killer on the video about your dad we're going to put up. So got John Elliott, and I appreciate you guys being here. Any last words, Rusty?
Thank you, everybody. This is awesome. I mean, just to see the involvement and some of the great things you guys have to say about my dad and my family is just really, really heartwarming for me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It really is. Brings a tear to my eye when I think about the old days and the work that your dad put in. You'll see it in that video. So awesome. All right, guys, we're going to end it now. So appreciate you being here. Stay tuned. Uncle Tony's Garage, Monday at 8 o'clock. And then I'll hook up with Joe Pappas from the Mopar Missile. He'll be on next. And then maybe you and I, Rusty, can hook up with Tony Bischoff and Darren Morgan down there.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Okay. There it is, right there. Yeah. I'm always entertaining. I talk too much. Interrupt. But cool. Let's end it.
All righty. See you, everybody.
All right, guys. See ya. Thumbs up. Give us a like. Subscribe. Help me build this channel. You'll see all that iron getting built, and you'll see Rusty in a driver's seat somewhere along the line. Mark my words.